Oops. Oh, I probably should have chose a different backdrop because my backdrop back here looks a little tacky. But anyway, all right. Hello, 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 everyone. It's not quite 8 o'clock p.m., but I see we already have a few people on. Thank you so much for joining me today, ladies. Hi, Ada. Hey, Andrea. I see the heart, so that's good. Hello, hello, hello. I'm keeping my fingers crossed tonight. No technical difficulties. Hello, Jessica. Hey, Jessica, thank you so much for that wonderful. That was so sweet when I saw your comment just a minute ago telling somebody that to listen to me. I was like, wow, that's great. Thank you so much, honey. I really appreciate that. And I'm so glad that whatever it was that I helped you with actually helped you. Hey, Ada. I have been running, running, running all day long today. Just getting back in the house. And so I'm hoping I won't be a little frazzled here. Hopefully, what I'm going to show you guys tonight will be very straightforward, very easy to follow, and that you'll be able to create your own ombre pattern when we're all said and done. It's very simple. Um, and so we'll give it just a few more minutes because it's not quite 8 o'clock, and then we'll get started. So, so we're gonna use the chat and a dot. I'm hoping. I don't know. Let me see. Let's see if I click on the elliptical with her name. No, let's see. If I click on these three dots, what does that do? Add as a moderator. Yay. Okay. Let's see. So I am going to. She can remove. Oh, I don't want to give her that much. Oh, now I'm gonna go ahead and make her a standard moderator. She's gonna help me out tonight. So hopefully that works. But you guys are going to use the chat function, and that's how you're going to talk to me. That's how you're going to ask questions. Uh, what would be helpful is if you have a question that is related to our tutorial tonight, if you'll go ahead and type question, the word question, in front of your question, that will help us to be able to moderate the chat and to find your question so that we can answer it, hopefully tonight and in real time. I'm going to be training, of course, or I'm going to be doing this tutorial. So Ada is going to kind of help me moderate that. But I am going to stop periodically and scroll back through the chat and see if there are questions and hopefully be able to answer those for you um, as I go through the training. I'm going to try to be very thorough, but I'm also going to try not to be very lengthy. Um, Sometimes when I'm doing these type tutorials, I can get very chatty. But I do that in an effort to teach you guys the different tools in Silhouette Studio that will help you with your rhinestone template creation. So hopefully it's useful. I know it can be long, but I try to, again, like I said, I try to be thorough so that you guys have a better understanding of the software. Hi, Catherine. Thank you for joining us tonight. Hey, I am so excited. This is my first live. Can you guys? It's my first one, and I'm so glad that you guys thought enough of me tonight to stop whatever you were doing to come on and be with me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I know you could be other places, but I'm happy you're here with me, helping me to grow my channel, which is people have been pushing me to do for about the last 2 years now, and I kind of been dragging my feet on it. But I'm starting to feel much more confident in my abilities, and so I thought that 2026 was my year to be intentional, and so I'm going to be intentional with you guys, and I'm going to try to come on and more frequently than I have in the past and share with you what I know so that you can do this for yourself, or like I said, as a business or a hobby, whatever. But I want you to be able to do this because it's not hard, but it does require some patience and practice. Okay, practice is the key. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I don't know, Ada. We learning this as we go. So I think what you can do, I know it said that you have the ability to monitor the chat. If anyone gets to be unruly, I think it's giving you permission to be able to remove people from the chat. Hopefully, we won't have to do that, and it's going to be well structured tonight. But this is our first go at it, so we're going to figure it out as we go. I know it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Hey, Lola. So glad to have some of my TRW Corel Draw crew folk on with me tonight. We have been in class every night almost for the last 3 months with Ray, learning how to use Corel Draw and the TRW Wizard. And I must say that, it's to his credit, to Ray's credit, to be so dedicated to show up every night to teach us how to use this software. Pretty much free of charge. It's been absolutely wonderful. It's been something that I've had that software for 2 years, almost three, maybe 3 years now, and was intimidated by it. But showing up and listening to Ray has given me the confidence to actually go in and start using the software. And so I'm so thankful to him. And it's because of him in some ways that I'm actually doing this with you guys tonight, right? I've been watching him do this every night. And so I figured, you know what? I'm going to try and do it too. So good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello, Shonda. Hey, Pam. I guess. Hey, Russeline. Good to see you. Thank you so much. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Tina. Thank you guys so much for showing up tonight. I really appreciate it. I really, really do. So it is, hey, Mary. It's, all right, all right. Well, it is 8:04 p.m. And I don't necessarily want to, again, take up too much of your Saturday evening. But I'm going to come on tonight and I'm going to show you a very basic tutorial on how to create the ombre effect in Silhouette Studio. And I have two versions that I've already done, but then I'm going to go through them with you so that you can follow along in the video and hopefully be able to do it for yourself, right? So I'm going to see if I can share my screen with you guys. Let's see. And that is not it. Window. That is not it. Well, now that is, now hold on, let's see something here because I don't want to do that. It's a window, but that's the snipping tool. Okay, give me just a second. Give me just a second. Microsoft Edge tab. So those are my window. Those are my tabs in Microsoft. I don't want that. It's a window that I'm trying to open. And I have Silhouette Studio open. But that's not it. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Now, when I did that just a minute ago, I'm going to do something and then somebody let me know whether or not they can see my screen. But I don't know, that might not work either because then I can't see you guys. Can anybody see my screen, or are you guys still looking at me? Hey, Candace, thank you for joining me tonight. Okay, so you can't see me yet. Okay, let me see something. When I do that, it shows that window, but it won't let me select that window. It's the snipping tool. Let me get rid of that. I don't want that. This is my live stream, and I don't want that. Here's Silhouette Studio. Well, if I can't figure out how to share my screen. Oh, I think I got it. I think I got it. Let's see. Okay. So can you guys see my screen now? All right. We're cooking with gas. Woohoo. All right. Now let me see something. Okay. So if I blow it up, I can't see you guys. So let me minimize it. All right. Okay. So what I currently, first of all, I guess I need to say thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Tanya, and I'm with All Things Dazzle. That is my small home-based business. And for those of you who know me, know that I love everything rhinestone. I have been rhinestoning since 2022, and I did not know at the time that it would become a passion for me. And so here I am coming on to share with you again, like I said, what I have learned over the last 3.5 to 4 years on how I use Silhouette Studio to create rhinestone designs. So before we get started, again, this is my YouTube channel. I hope if this video is useful to you guys tonight, that you will take an opportunity to like the video and hopefully to subscribe to my channel. My goal is to produce new content regularly, and you guys supporting that effort would encourage me to continue to keep doing so. So with that being said, again, so I have on my screen is the ombre design that we're going to work on tonight, and I'm going to use that girl, okay, as our text. And I have two versions of an ombre pattern up on my screen. I have just the very simple, this one here, the black with the brown and the white. Okay, and then we have over here the one that you guys may see more frequently, where they have the dots or the ombre pattern kind of falling down into the text. So I'm going to show you how you can create both of those, and we'll start with the simple one first. And if you guys want to stay on with me during the live, I will also show you how you prepare your ombre pattern for layering in either Silhouette Studio or for importing it out of Silhouette Studio into Design Space for those of you who may cut with your Cricut cutting machines, okay? So we'll do both. So I'm going to open up a brand new mat or Design Space on my screen, okay? So I have a blank mat, and I'm just going to type out over here on the left-hand side of the screen. You have these icons here. I'm not going to go through every one of them. I'm going to assume that most of you may already know this, but I will talk about each of the tabs, or I will call them out so that you can start to familiarize yourself with them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to the text tool. Okay, so here's the text tool. It's the one that is with the letter A. I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and then I'm just going to come anywhere onto the design mat. I'm going to click, and I'm going to type out my text. Okay, so my text is that girl. Okay, and I'm going to, so I have my that girl, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to scale it out a little bit so that we can see it. Okay, and I'm also going to center it. Okay, so it's already selected. We know it's selected because there is a box around it with our scaling corners. And I'm going to come up here to my alignment tool. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing because my screen is a little truncated. But I'm going to come up here to the very top of the toolbar, and I'm going to click on the alignment tool. Okay, and I'm going to just center it. Okay, so I'm just going to click the justify center and center the text that we're going to work with. Okay, thank you, Jessica. All right, so we have that girl. Okay, and I'm just going to scale it up a little bit more so you guys can see. And now what I want to do is I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side of my toolbar, okay? And I'm going to change the font, okay? Right now, it is on a Arial. You can see it right here at the top. This toolbar right here, you can see it says Arial. If I click on it and I click the down arrow from here, I can see some of the fonts. Mine looks different right the moment because I was playing around in Silhouette and it with the preview, and so now you can't see the name of the font that I am selecting. So I apologize for that. But what I'm going to use is I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side of my screen. Okay, so the right-hand side of my screen, we also have we have some other icons. Okay, and I'm going to select this one here with the A, the capital A and the little a, and that's the text style panel. Okay, so I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to use a font called University. Okay, it is a collegiate type font. Okay, most people have some type of collegiate font on their computer. But this is the one that I'm going to use tonight. Okay, it's called University, and I believe I downloaded it from Creative Fabrica. It is a thinner collegiate font than the standard collegiate, which helps in rhinestone template designing because, again, it's not, if you need to make something that's a word that is long, because it's a little thinner, you have some more room to play with. Yes, I will do that. Just give me a second. I will change the background to make it easier for you guys to see. So again, I have selected the University font, okay? And I'm going to X out of that. And I'm going to go to my page setup icon, okay? It is the very first one at the top here on the right. And I'm going to change the background of my mat to a contrast color so that you guys can kind of see what I'm doing, okay? Does that make it better? I don't... Can someone type in the chat whether or not that makes it better? Make it dark. If I make it dark, you can't see the outline? Well, I guess you can. Sorry. And let's just see if I change the font color. There's some other things I may have to switch back and forth for some things that I want to show you, but let's just go ahead and do that. I'm just going to go ahead and turn the font color white. Okay. Somebody said they like it better the way it was. Okay. How's that? Does this work for folk? Much better? Okay, so let's stick with this for now, and we'll see how that goes. So I've got my that girl, okay, and one of the first things I see, well, before I even go into that, we have our that girl. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to go ahead and I like to go ahead, turn on the rhinestone panel. Okay. And so I'm going, it's down here. I think, let's see. It's this icon here on the right. And I believe it's kind of like the fourth or fifth one from the bottom. But the rhinestone panel is the one that's this circular round circle that kind of looks like a rhinestone. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click that on. And what I like to do is I like to go ahead and see what my design looks like when I turn on the rhinestone effects. Okay. So the very first one is no effect. Okay. The one next to that is your edge fill. Okay. So if we click on it, it automatically puts the the rhinestones on the edge of your design. Okay. So this is the edge fill. And then we have the right next to it is the linear fill. Okay, the linear fill is the one that takes your dots across in a straight up and down and a vertical and horizontal alignment. So we can click on that one and see what that looks like. And then the very last one is our radial fill. Okay, and the radial fill is the one that when you're working with a design that may have curves in it, it will follow the curves, but it will also curve the stones from the inside out. So you'll find that if you're using the radial fill, you may have spaces and gaps in your design, and that's because it's trying to follow the contour of the design. And if it's circular, that's just one of the things that happens when you're using the radial fill. So these are the three different fill patterns that you have. You have, again, you have your edge, you have your linear, okay, and you have your radial. Okay. Now, below that, you have the size of your rhinestone. The default when you open up the rhinestone panel is SS10. Okay. But you also have 6. So our design is already selected. Again, we know it's selected because we have the box around it. So let's just go ahead and see what it looks like if we use 6SS stones. Okay. That looks a little bit more detailed, right? And the reason it looks more detailed is because the 6SS stone is smaller, so there's more room for those stones to fit. Okay, but then we also have our 16, and we also have 20s. Okay, if you were going to be doing an in-between size, you could always come in here and you can either use your up and down arrow to select what size that you want, or you can just type in the number and it will then give you that stone size. Okay. But the standards are, of course, we all know 6SS and 10SS rhinestones. Okay. So I'm going to go back to my 10SS for now. Okay. And the next thing we have below that is our rhinestone spacing. Okay. Shaman says, let me see. Are we supposed to see the rhinestone panel? If I put it in the window like that, can you see it now? It's been highlighted blue. Not sure. No, you cannot see the rhinestone panel. Okay. I wonder if I'm going to try something quick. So I have maximized my silhouette window, so that, and I'm going to come back and see if you now see that the rhinestone panel is open. So I'm going to minimize that. And can someone tell me whether or not they saw the rhinestone panel just a minute ago? Still no. You need to move your YouTube picture to the left. Okay, if I move it to the left. Oh, I see what happens. Okay, so what's happening is I can't move the screen. I can't move that. I can't move what you see. But because when I share my screen, it opens up another window that allows me to be able to manipulate silhouette. But it does not move. Let's see something. Hold on a second. What's this? Nope. Oh, shoot. I did not mean to do that. I don't want that. Uh-oh. All right. Hold on a minute. Okay. Give me a second. Oh, shoot. Hold on a minute. All right. Let's try this again. Hold on a minute. Oh, give me 1 second. I came out of silhouette altogether. All right. I shut down out of silhouette. Give me a minute to bring it back up. You are not getting crossbar to allow you to move to the opposite corner. Okay, hold on. You guys are giving me some helpful information, but I need to see. Let's see. For me, the rhinestone is shown at the top when you open it. Click on the arrow with the folder. Let me see. Let me bring silhouette back up. Let me go back. Oh, shoot. Okay. Open recover. Oh. And I also lost the design, so I'm going to have to recreate it. Okay. Let's go back to the YouTube. Let's go back to share my screen. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to bring this back up again. And, okay, so I see what's happening here. Okay, hold on. Let's see something. Aha. Let's try this. But I see it moves that. And let's see if I open up the rhinestone panel. But see, you still don't see it. I see it on my screen, but you don't see it on your screen. Let's see. Here's the scroll. Nope. So this allows me to move my mat. So I can move my mat so you guys can see that. I can use a scroll wheel, but it will not open up the panel so that you can see it. Okay, so let's see. Somebody is saying, click and hold where you see your face camera. Click and hold where you see your face camera. Oh, Lord. Then reposition it to the left. Click and hold where you see your face and your camera. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, my face. No, I see my face, but that's just, I don't, are you using Zoom? No, Zoom. I'm going live. I'm just in Facebook Live, Ray. your face camera on YouTube. There's a camera there that says I don't have access to this feature. I don't have access to that feature. Okay. I'll have to do this again and try to learn how to do this. Maybe Ray one day will come on and he and I can play it out. So hopefully you guys will just be able to follow along. Like I said, I will talk about the tools as I use them, and hopefully that will help. So let me go back out again because I need to recreate that girl. So let me go back out to my text tool, type out that girl. And I'm gonna go ahead and scale it up. I'm gonna hold on a minute. And I'm going to change the contrast. I'm going to, this is ridiculous now. Hold on a minute. Okay. So there's that girl. And we're going to change the font color so you guys can see it. And again, I'm going to go back to my university font. Okay, I'm going to center it. Okay, so this is what I want to use, and I showed you. I went through it just a little while ago before we got all distracted here, but and showed you the three different rhinestone effects. Again, you have your edge, you have your linear, and you have your radial fill. Okay, and what I'm going to use tonight to do the ombre pattern with you guys is I'm going to use the linear fill, right? Because the linear fill is the one that gives us our nice stones filled in, and it just looks a whole lot better than the edge fill. I mean, the radial fill. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and size this to about where I want it. And I'm sizing it to about 10 and a half, maybe 10 and a half inches. Okay. But as I look at this design, okay, and this is one of the things that I want to teach you guys is when you're looking at your design, you want to look at it and you want to say, okay, what looks off about the design? Okay. And as I look at the design, I do not like the way the letter A is currently filled in with this with this linear fill pattern, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to turn the effect off. Okay. Someone says, turn page black, please. Okay. Let me turn the page black. Why is my tool not working? Okay. Is that better? Okay. So the one thing that I noticed, like I said, what I was saying earlier is when in the linear fill, the A, you can't see this part of the A, this cutout, right? Because it's so in this font, this cutout is very tiny. Okay. And so I want to make this a little bit larger so that when I go to use the rhinestone effect, I can make it'll look more like an A. Okay. So, and this is the reason why having a black screen is going to be a little difficult. I have to switch back and forth so that you guys can see what I'm doing. So let me just go ahead and try to turn it to a contrast that is a little bit darker, but that you guys can still see. Okay. So I'm going to just blow this up a little bit just so that you guys can see what I'm doing, and then I'll bring it back down. So what I want to do is I'm going to right click on this design, okay, and I am going to release the compound path, okay. And the reason I want to release the compound path is because I want to work with this little triangle here in the middle. So I'm going to click on this and see if I can get to it. If I click on this and ungroup it, okay, so once I ungrouped everything, it then put a box around all of the different elements of the design, right? So you see there's a box now around the little triangle, and then there's a box around the inside part of the R. So I'm going to click anywhere on my mat to deselect everything so that I can just select the triangle, okay? So now I have just the triangle selected, okay? I'm just going to scale it up. So I'm going to pull from one of the corners, and I'm going to hold my shift key as I do that so that everything stays in proportion as I drag. So I'm just going to drag it out a little bit and just make it a little bit larger, okay? So I'm going to make it a little bit larger, and then I'm going to put it back. Oops, excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and center it, try to center it back. Let's see, my alignment tools. That's not the one. This one right here. Okay, so I opened up the alignment tool or the transform panel. This little icon over here on your left-hand side of on the right-hand side of your screen, there's an icon that looks like a 3 lines up and down with one going across the middle. It is called the transform, and it is where you find your alignment tools. Okay, so I'm just going to align that triangle back up into the center. And now that I have that scaled up a little bit, I'm going to drag a box around the A and the triangle. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I grab them both. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to make it a compound path again. Okay, so when I make it a compound path again, it's going to cut that triangle out from that back part of the A. Okay, everybody see that? So now if I go back and I open up the rhinestone panel and I turn on the linear fill, that A looks so much better than the one that we had before. Okay, everybody agree that this A looks so much better than the one we had before? So I think I'm happy with that. So let's just make sure with the R that we have let's see what the R looks like in case we need to increase this interior space here. So I'm going to drag a box around both the R and the inside piece. I'm going to right click with my mouse and I'm going to make it a compound path. Okay. And then I'm going to turn on the rhinestone effect for the linear fill and just make sure that I am happy with what I got. Okay. And I think that that is sufficient space for what we're going to do tonight. So I'm not going to make any or adjustments to the letter R. So we got our A done, we've got our R done, and so we can go ahead and let's just go ahead and click on. Well, let me see. I got to move this out of the way. If you guys have never done a live and tried to share your screen and everything is small, you got to move stuff out of the way. So bear with me. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag a box and I'm going to select everything that is on the screen. Okay. All of the letters. And I'm going to turn on the linear fill rhinestone effect. Okay. All right. So now that we have that done, it's right now it's sized on my screen at 14.79 inches in width and 10.69 inches in height. That's a little bit too big. So I'm going to go ahead and scale it down. Thank you. I appreciate that. I try to be real with you guys, right? Like this is you see all my trials, all my tribulations, my successes, my failures, because I'm certain, like you said, we all go through it. And so what better way than to learn, than to see it happen in real time so that you know exactly how to fix it when it happens, if it happens to you. Okay, so we've got this size at 10.4 inches. That's a good size. It's 7.5 inches in height. That's probably a decent size too, but I think I'll go ahead and make it a little bit taller. Okay, because I love bling and I like for my stuff to stand out on my shirt. So I'm gonna make it, we got 8.7 inches and we're still at 10. I'm gonna just make it a little bit larger. 10.743 is where we landed. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see now that we've got it scaled where we want it, right? A lot of people tend to say, hey, I'm done. Okay, and they go ahead and they turn this into a rhinestone template. But one of the things that I notice is that there are some issues in the spacing. Okay, uh, and so we're going to see if we can try to clean that up a little bit. Let's see. I think I see a little question. Before I get started with that, let me just see if I can we create the size of the rhinestone? What does that say? We create the size of the rhinestone in this program, not in Cricut. Yes, that is correct. If you are using Silhouette Studio and you are going to import your design into Design Space, you are going to create your dimensions in Silhouette and then make sure that you make note of what those dimensions are so that when you then import it over into Design Space, you make sure to bring it in at the correct size, because if you don't, then your whole size is going to be distorted. Okay, but I'll take you through that. If you decide you want to stay on with me, I will take you through all of that so that you can see exactly how you do it. So here we are. Okay, and I'm going to click anywhere on my mat, and I'm just going to deselect because everything right now is highlighted. So I'm just going to deselect. And I want to work with each of these. Okay, so we have our T, right? And if you, well, wait a minute. Before I do that, let me go back to my rhinestone panel. Okay. And the first thing I want to check, because we got distracted, or I got distracted, and I didn't finish going through the things on the rhinestone panel. So we talked about the rhinestone effect. We talked about how you can change your rhinestone size for your stone. Um, What we didn't talk about was the spacing. Okay, rhinestone spacing. The default in Silhouette Studio is 39, 0.039. Okay, that is the amount of space between each of the holes in your design. Okay, and if you want your design to be more dense, meaning you want more stones, then you want to bring your spacing down. Okay, depending on what type of cutting machine you have is going to dictate how far you can bring the spacing down without running into an issue when you go to cut your flock. Okay. What I have found to be a sweet spot for those who cut with a Cricut cutting machine is 20. Okay. So when I start my designs, I always go to my spacing and I change this to 0.020. Okay. That's my starting point. Okay. And I just did that. And because I was just on the letter T, hopefully you notice that those stones got a little bit more dense. Okay. But you can see that they're a little bit more dense than the H. And so let's just go ahead and I'm going to highlight everything. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that again. I'm going to type in my 020 and hit enter so that all of the spacing changes. Okay. So this is my starting point. Sometimes depending on the design, sometimes I can go down as low as 0.15. I cut with a Cameo. I also cut with a Cricut. And I have found that I can cut lower with my Cricut, but I also am using a deep point blade. Some of you may only have a fine point blade, but again, the 20 is generally the sweet spot. It is the one that will pretty much give you a good cut with no tears in between. So start with that. And as you continue to practice and you learn your cutting machine, you can play around with the spacing and see if you can get your designs even tighter if you like. But we're going to stick with the 20. Okay. And I hope you can see, I can't zoom that in. But anyway, what I want you to see is that in the A, right, you see how the A has some gaps in this row right here where my cursor is, right? There's some gapping in here. And what that's saying is that the software is saying, okay, you're using SS10 stones at a spacing of 0.020. I can't fit another stone in here with the letter being the size that it is. Okay. So when I see stuff like this, I then will try to work with each of those letters individually and see if I can get that spacing so that those stones can fill in without changing the shape of the font by too much. Okay. So I'm going to just click on the A and I'm going to drag this. I'm going to drag over here. Okay. And as you can see, you see how they just giving it that little bit of space allowed that that row to fill in, that stone to fill into that space. Okay. So I'm happy with that. I'm looking here at my T's. Well, let's say I'm looking at the H. The H looks good, but I see here on the T's over here on the ends, right? We have this gap in between on the edges. I don't like that, right? So let's go ahead and see what happens when we try to give a little bit more space in the T. Okay. Okay, you saw we dragged it and that filled in on that side. So if we drag just a little bit more, there we go. Okay, so now we've filled it in and we've made it much more symmetrical. So let's do this on the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now we're gonna see what we got here. We've got the G. Okay, we've got some spacing here in the G. So let's go ahead and click on it and let's just drag it out a little bit and see if we can get those stones to fill in. Okay, that didn't take very much. The I looks good. The R looks good. And the L, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to drag that out just a little bit and see if we can get this to fill in right in here. Okay. There we go. I'm going to come over here and look at the chat for just a minute. Let's see. Oh, can't make the letters large. What is it? Make the letters larger. Keep the, what does that say? Make the letters larger. Keep the stones the same size. Yes, because I want to work with I want this design to be in SS10s. Okay. So because I want to stay using SS10s, I'm just going to, like I said, I just worked with each of those letters individually. They worked really well. I did not have to do very much manipulation to them. And if I look at it, the design increased maybe, let's see, 10.830 by 902 inches in height. Okay. So that's going to fill up. That's going to fill up a pretty, your medium, large, extra large shirt. It's going to be really big. But it's not, so that's perfectly fine. But if I did this, if it was a different type of font, and I did this, see that if I had to do that in order to get it to fill in, that's going to make it not look proportioned with the other letters. And so I'd have to do something else. But fortunately, because I'm using that narrower university font, it allowed me to be able to increase that size without making the other ones look out of proportion. Okay, so let me see if I can put that back. Matter of fact, let me just go back and hit my undo. Okay, so now that we have all of our letters, everything looks spaced out pretty decent. Okay, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to drag a box, and I'm just going to group all of the word that together. Okay, so I'm going to right click and click group. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with girl. Okay, and right click and group. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to make sure that my design is centered. Okay, and I don't want to have to deal with all of the individual letters. So now that both of these are grouped, I can click on that. I can hold my shift key. I can click on girl. Okay, and then I can go back over to my alignment tools. Okay, and center it, everything horizontally. Okay, so I want to align everything to the center. Didn't need much. Okay, and I'm probably going to bring this up just a little bit. So I'm just using my arrow key to position girl where I want it. Okay. All right. So now the next thing I'm going to do, I don't like the outline. I hate that red outline around when you're working. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn that off. And the way you do that is I'm going to drag a box again around everything. I'm going to go over here to the icon underneath the paint palette. It's the line style panel. Okay. That's what it's called. It's the one underneath your paint palette on the right. I'm going to click on it. And there are two icons there. There's one for the line style. Okay. And then the one for line color. Okay, so I'm going to click on the one that says line color, and I'm just going to turn off the outline, okay? And the way you turn that off is if you go to the fill color, there should be an icon there that's an empty box with a triangle in it. When you hover over it, it'll say standard. You click on that, and that will turn off your outline, okay? So now we have our that girl without the outline around it, and hopefully that'll make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. Okay. So we're done with our text. Okay. So now we're ready to create the ombre effect. Okay. But before I go there, does anybody have any questions? You can go ahead and put them in the chat. Remember, if you have a question or if you have a question throughout this tutorial, just go ahead and type your question, but put the word question in front of it so that if I'm scrolling by, I can make sure that I'm pulling up I can see your question, or try to anyway. No? Nobody have any questions? Okay. Okay, so before we can, excuse me, before we can create that ombre, we have to first release the rhinestones. Okay, so if you look here at the rhinestone panel, right, the last thing on well, there are two other things here. We have the freehand tool, and then we have release rhinestones, and then at the bottom it'll tell us how many rhinestones are in the design. Okay, so we're not going to go over the freehand tool tonight. Okay, I'll save that for another tutorial. But we are going to release the rhinestones. But before I release them, I want to show you that if you look there, it says that we currently have 1,910 stones in this design. So this design has 1,910 stones in it. I'm going to go ahead and click Release Rhinestones. And we're going to give the software a minute to go ahead and do what it does. But when it's done, you will know that the rhinestones are all released because a box will show up around all of the circles on your screen. Okay. So let's see. Okay. So everybody see that? So now every hole on the screen now has a box around it. And that means that we can manipulate every single one of those holes. Okay. We can do something with each of those holes individually. So I just deselected. Okay. I just deselected so that I can now show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to create that very first ombre pattern that I showed you when we first started the live. Okay, and how I'm going to do that is I'm going to come over here to the right side of my the left side of my mat. Okay, and I'm just going to click and drag. And what I want to do is I'm going to click and I'm going to select the very first two rows. Okay, the very first two rows of the design. I'm going to try to grab those and just drag across the screen. Okay, just drag from one end to the other. And because my screen is a little smaller now, I may have to do this a couple of times because I can't see it as clearly as I would if I were working in silhouette. But I'm going to try to grab those first two rows. Okay, and then I'm going to open up my paint palette and I'm going to pick a color. Okay, so you guys just pick whatever color you like. I'm going to go back with my brown. So I'm going to start with this dark brown. Maybe that's too dark. I'll use this brown so you can see it better against the gray background. Okay, then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select the next two rows. Okay, and I'm going to try to do that and select the next two rows. Hopefully I have them and I didn't select anything above it. And I'm going to turn it into another color, something a little lighter than the one that I used earlier. Okay, so I'm just going to I just selected that color. I actually had too many rows selected. Like I said, it's a little hard for me to do this. Okay, so now I have the top two as a dark brown. I have the next two rows as a lighter brown, and then I'm going to try to grab the next two rows directly underneath that. Okay, again, I'm just going to click and drag. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see if I do this. Let's see if I can. I don't see my zoom. Oh, here it is. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Can you guys still see? I zoomed in a little bit so I could see better. Hopefully that doesn't make it harder for you guys. Oh, maybe it makes it easier for you to see. Okay. But now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take these last two rows and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to try to just grab those two and turn them into a color. Let's see. I think I grabbed 3 rows or I got 3 rows grabbed someplace else. Hold on a minute. Okay, I'm glad that made that better for you guys. So let's see. Okay. I got 3 rows selected here for some reason. Okay, let's go back and change that white. I'm gonna go back and change that white. Okay, so you see I've got 3 rows. Okay, and I've turned each of them. I'm gonna change. Matter of fact, let me try to make this one a different color. That might make it a little bit easier to see. Oh, not that. Hold on a second. Trying to grab. I just want to grab those 2 rows and I'll just turn it like that. All right. You guys get the idea. Right now, because my screen is smaller, it's harder for me to see it. But I only really wanted to grab the 2 rows, but I actually grabbed 3. But that's okay. It still works for our tutorial tonight. It's to show you how you can create this ombre effect, right? So I've got these top rows done. Okay, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make the bottom 2 rows. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm just gonna grab the bottom 2 rows, and I'm gonna use that dark color that we started with. Okay, so now we have the top done. I'm gonna just go ahead and do the same thing with the word girl. I'm gonna follow that same pattern. So we did 2 rows of. Oh, we gotta grab 2 rows. 2 rows of a dark brown. And then I'm going to try to grab 2 rows of a lighter brown, and then we had 3 rows just to make it the same. Oh, sorry. Let me go back and do undo. Put that back. And 3 rows of the other color just to keep it symmetrical. And that didn't do right. Let's see. Give me a minute. There we go. Okay. So now we have that. Okay. We have that. And let's go ahead and go down to the bottom of girl and grab those 2 bottom rows and turn that brown. Okay. And let me zoom out so I can see. And essentially, just as easy as that, I know you have created an ombre type pattern. Let me go ahead and turn this background. See if I can turn this background black so that you guys can really see how that looks. Okay. If we wanted to add more of an effect, we could go ahead and we could pick up some more of the rows down here at the bottom. Let me zoom in again so I can see. We could, and this is a personal preference. This is whatever it is that you want to do, however you want to create your ombre. Okay. Okay. You could even do something like this. Everybody see that? We gotta give this one. Okay. So now what we have to do is we would have to create the layers, right? Okay. We have to create the layers for our template when we go to cut the template, right? Because if we cut it, we could, if we tried to cut it like this, it'd be very difficult for us to make sure that the stones don't fall into the wrong holes as we're brushing in the template in order to create this ombre pattern. So the way you can do that, okay, is you're gonna go to the very top and of your toolbars, okay, and where you have your text, and we want to click on panels. Okay, we're going to click on panels, and we click on panel, we're going to click the one that says select by color. Okay, so when we click on select by color, it's going to open up another window, and you're going to get 2 options. You're going to get select by line, select color by line, and select color by fill. Okay, you want to select the option that says by fill. Okay, and when you select that option, I know you guys can't see it, but when you select that option, okay, everything that is on your design mat, all the colors that you have selected on your design mat are going to show up. And what you're going to do is you're going to click on each color. Okay, so right now I'm clicking the brown. Okay, let me turn the page. Hold on, guys. Let me turn the page back to a lighter contrasting color just so that you can see. Hopefully, when I make those when I click on the certain things. So I'm gonna deselect so you can see. I'm gonna go back to panels. I'm gonna click select by color. Okay, and I'm gonna click on the brown. And when I click on the brown, it's gonna select everything that is that color. Okay, I'm gonna right click while it's selected, and I'm gonna go ahead and group it together first. Okay, I want to group first. Okay, and the second thing that is important for those of you who are going to be importing your designs into Cricut Design Space, at this point you want to go ahead and you want to right click, and you're going to click make compound path. Okay, always be sure to make a compound path, because that is what's going to tell the Design Space software that is all one thing. Okay, it's all one thing, so that when you go to send that to your mat, it then doesn't put all of the holes back onto the mat unaligned. unaligned. Okay, we want to keep everything the way that it is. So you want to make sure that you turn everything into a compound path. Now, when I do this, okay, it will oftentimes default back to its original outline. But all you have to do is just go back to your paint palette, okay, and it's just for visual effect. You go back to the paint palette and you just go back and turn it back to the color that it was, okay. It also means that you have to go back and you have to turn off the outline, but that's just, clicks here and there, and it take you back to where you are, okay. So I've got all of my brown grouped together, and now it's grouped because I can move it, okay. So all of the brown, this is going to be a layer when we go to cut our template, okay. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put it back, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go open up the panels. I'm going to select by color, and I'm going to select the next color, okay. So I'm going to select that lighter brown, and let's see what happened, because I see what happened. There's two browns on my screen, two light browns. So the reason it did not select the one underneath the darker brown is because I accidentally selected a different shade of brown when I was creating that. So, but because I want those two colors grouped together, all I have to do is hold my shift key and then just select that other color. So now you see I have both of those selected. Okay. I'm going to click again. I'm going to right click. I'm going to click group. It's going to group all of that together. And then again, I'm going to make it a compound path. Okay. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to turn it back into the color that I want it to be. And I'm going to turn off the outline again. And I apologize that this is tedious, but I don't, but that's just Silhouette Studio for you. Okay. So the last one we have to do is this pinkish kind of color. So we'll do it again. We'll go back to panel, select by color, click on that pink, right click, group, and make compound path. Okay. And I'm going to color it, and I'm going to turn off the outline. Okay. There we have it. I'm going to scroll out just so that I can see. Okay, so now you have your you have actually 4 layers, and I should do the white. So let me go back to panels again, select by color, select the white, right click, click group, and then right click again and make that a compound path. We'll go ahead and turn those back white so you can see them, and turn off the outline. Okay, so now that we have that done, we have all 4 layers of our ombre pattern done. Here's 1, here's 2, here's the 3rd one, and then this one. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put it all back. If you're not a beginner, okay, if you are a beginner, I would suggest creating the 4 different layers, okay, because that's probably going to be the easiest way to do it. If you're a little bit more advanced, right, and you're trying to save some flock, which I always love to save flock, I'm going to try to figure out like which one of these that I can kind of keep together and still be able to brush in my stones, right? Some people will say you can do all of this, and you can, right? There is a way to do it so that you can cut all of this as one template, and you could use painter's tape and tape off the portions of the design that you don't want to stone in. I don't like to use painter's tape because I'm a klutz, and usually when I'm pulling the painter's tape off, I wind up messing up my stones and all of that. So but what I do like to do sometimes is figure out, which parts of the template I can group together so that I can save some flock. So I think this white part, right? This white part and maybe the upper portion, right? The very top. So let me go ahead and do undo, put that back, right? I could click on the top brown and then I could click on the white sections and group those together. And if I do that, nope, that doesn't work. And the reason that doesn't work is because when I go to brush in the white or the clear or whatever color stones you're going to use, more than likely I will probably brush in stones. Stones will fall into that bottom part there. So that one doesn't work. So let's go back. Hey, let's see. But I can do the lighter brown and the white, and I could group those two together. Nope. Well, I don't know. I'll just go back and we would just have our, this would be a layer, okay? And I would come out here and it would be, I'd come out here, I'd figure out what this is, what size this is, okay? So this is 10.960 by 8.362. So let's go ahead and open up our text tool over here. I'm going to open up the text tool and I'm going to go ahead and type that out. That was 10 point, what did I say? 10.960 by 8.362. 8.362. Okay. And I would just group these things together for the time being. And the reason I want to do that is because when I bring this into Design Space, okay, I want to know what the dimensions are. Okay, so the dimensions for this particular layer is 10.960 by 8.362. And I would do that for each of the other ones. So what we have left, do we have anything else that we can group together safely? Probably not. Let's see, we have this. And they both attach to something else. So then it would be this one. I'd do the same thing. I'd figure out what the dimensions of this is. It should be the same width, the 10.960. The only thing that changes is the height, right? Because it's 7.762. So I would do that same thing, right? I would put the dimensions on there and then group it together. Do the same for this layer, okay? And then do the same for the white layer. What is it called when you cut a shape to be used as a marker to align each layer when doing? Oh, I think you're talking about the registration marks. Okay. That's for another tutorial, or you can watch it on my YouTube channel. I mean, actually, I guess it does make sense for me to actually show you guys how to do that because this is a multi-layered template to create the registration. And we can come back and we can do that. We can come back and do that. But again, this is how you would create the 4 different layers for this particular ombre design. Does that make sense to everybody? If anybody has any questions, just drop it in the chat and I'll address it before I go back and show you how you can create the other ombre pattern. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go back. Just going to go back. I'm going to put everything back the way that it was. And undo is your best friend in Silhouette because as long as you don't save anything, you can use your undo key and it take you all the way back to the very beginning. Might be a lot of clicks, but let's see. Now, why is that not moving? Well, that's interesting. It won't go back and undo. All right. Not certain why that's not acting as it should, but I'll just go ahead and line it back up Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove all of this effect. Okay, well, actually, I'm not going to remove this effect. I'm going to leave this like this, and I'm going to just show you how to create the ombre where you have the multiple colored stones that kind of fade down into the bottom of your text. Okay, so in order to do that, the white section is all grouped together, okay? And we made it into a compound path. So I need to ungroup it. Well, I need to go ahead and first and release the compound path. And then and now that I've released the compound path, right, now all of my white dots, all of my circles are individual dots again, okay? So I'm going to zoom this in a little bit, okay? So now all of my dots, I can just click, see, I can click on in any of these individual dots. Okay. And the way that I do this, okay, some people may do it differently, but the way I do it is I just hold my shift key. Okay. Because when you hold the shift key, it would allow you to select other items and all of those items become kind of grouped together. So I just hold down my shift key and I'm just going to arbitrarily start just kind of, and I'm not going to go, I'm going to stay within a range of a height range here, but I'm just going to hold down, again, hold my shift key, and I'm just going to right now just start clicking, variable dots, circle, holes in the design, right? I'm just going to click right the moment and see what this looks like. Okay. And just no rhyme, no reason. Okay. And then I'm going to open up my paint palette. And I'm going to pick a color. And I'm just going to pick that darker brown. And I'm going to see where those dots lined up. Okay. And as you see, as you do that, right, you start seeing your ombre develop in the lower half of the design. So basically all you're going to do is you're just going to pick dots. Okay. And you're just going to click. And if you don't like a certain dot in that particular color or in that spot, you just click on it and turn it back. Okay. I think this needs a little bit more effect. So I'm going to do it again. I'm just going to kind of click some more random circles. And I'm going to see what that looks like. Okay. Now I will share with you that when you are creating an ombre pattern like this, it is a lot more difficult to layer this pattern correctly and have your stones line up perfectly when you go to press it. And the reason that happens is because, again, your garment has stretch in it, right? So when you go and you lay down that first layer, things don't quite, they're not the same as they were before you put those stones in. So this ombre effect, it takes practice in layering it to achieve it to look the way that it did. So again, it's just one of those patterns that it requires some patience and some work. I don't necessarily say a beginner should try it. The easier one would probably be just the straight harsh line kind of ombre pattern that we did first. But this is how I create this particular pattern. And again, like I say, you just arbitrarily pick some dots. And then what happens is when you go to create the layer, you do it the same way we did before, right? You go in and you would go to your panels. You would select by color. You would select all of, and I actually picked the wrong brown, but that's okay. But I'm going to select that brown and the one above it so that I could group all of that together. Again, I'm going to make it a compound path and I'm going to turn it back into the color, right? And I have to zoom out so I can see what I'm doing, right? But now that we've created that, now we have a whole new layer. See, we have a whole new layer with those dots or those circles as part of that layer. And then you're going to have this layer where those stones should fill in when you go to layer it. This is where, again, probably when the hinge method is really important, because it will help you to, again, align those holes back up, so that they are in proper alignment when you create the transfer. Let's see, somebody says, and I do mines by hand in the full templated design. It is more work, but it gives me the original ombre each time I'm done. Yes, you can do that too. Probably a better way, but you can do it this way as well. Okay, and you could do the same thing for what we have down here in the bottom to create that same ombre. Just select your circles, change your color to create that that effect. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back. I did not necessarily want, I probably wouldn't have selected this one right here now that I saw it as part of that grouped. Don't like it that way. But anyway, that is how you can create, that is how you create that effect. Anybody have any questions? Yes, definitely the hinge method for this. Yes, most definitely. Okay, so let me show you how you can do that. But I'm going to do it from the let me go back. I'm going to do undo. You can do it that way too. You can do that. Someone says that they would just mix some stones in with their chosen colors and then just place them. You can do that as well. I sell a lot of templates. And so as I'm selling my template, again, when you create the template, people see it that way on the screen. That may not necessarily correlate to them to just add stones, arbitrarily in those spaces. So when I create the template, I will create it such so that those layers already will give them that ombre effect. But that is another way to do it. Let's see. I was doing my undos. I got distracted. Let's see. Question: how do you see rhinestone count for each of the layers? Okay. All right. Let me take this back to the. Let's go back. So someone said, how do you see the rhinestone count for each of those layers? So let me go out and let me zoom out for a minute. Okay. So the way that I do it is, let me come out and show you again. So right now I have that brown layer. Okay. And someone said, how many stones are in this brown layer? So I'm going to put it back. If you double click on it, okay, when you double click on that, it brings up the point editing tool. Okay. Another way that you can do that is, if it doesn't, when you double click on it, if you go to your toolbar and you click on, let's see, I think it's in the, where is it? Object. If you click on object and you click on simplify, okay, the simplify will open up the point editing tool as well. But if you look down here at the bottom where it says node count, okay, where it says contour, oh, wait a minute. Where it says contours, right? Contours are the are your stone count for that particular layer, okay? Not the node count, because each of those circles has probably 2 nodes attached to it, so it is or more. But you want to look at the contours, and the contours will tell you exactly how many holes you have in that layer. So if I click on the, so that was the brown one. If I click on the lighter one, okay, You see how the contours change to 329? Okay. If we click on the pinky layer, it tells us that the contours are 226. And if I click on the white layer, and I can't click on the white layer because I ungrouped it. We released the compound path and we ungrouped it. So now each one of these is its own individual. So you see when I clicked on that one circle, right? You see how the contour changed to 1. Okay. So if we want to see that, we can go back to our panels, select by color, grab all of the white, and now it shows us that the contours are 1,000. Okay, so if we had added all of those back together again, we probably would have came back to that same 1,900 and some odd stones in this design. So that's a way that you can determine, how many stones you need to use for each of the layers. If you are creating templates and you want to tell people, again, how many stones are in each layer, that's a way that you can do it. Okay. So I'm going to group this back together again, just so that it all stays together, and make that the compound path. And let's just turn it back white. Okay. And turn off the outline. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is, okay, so we want to prepare this particular, we want to prepare this for an import into Cricut Design Space. And someone asked about creating the registration mark to help you line up this template once you've created all of these layers. Okay, so the way that I do that is I will draw a box. I'm going to come over here to our, over here on the left, and I'm going to go over here to our drawing tools. Okay, and I'm just going to click a rectangle. Okay, and I'm going to just drag a rectangle around the design. Okay, and I do this thinking that this is like a simulated piece of flock, right? So I'm going to drag enough of the box. Hold on a second. Okay, I want to make sure that the box is sufficient to fit my design in. Okay, but the one thing that we have to think about with Cricut is, in Cricut, you can only go out, I believe, 11.5 inches in width. Anything over 11.5 inches in width, Cricut is going to tell you that the design is too big for the mat. So when I do this, I want to make sure. Matter of fact, let me take this out a minute. Let me group all of this together because don't want it to move. Okay, and we know that our design is at 10.960. Okay, so I'm going to draw that box again. Okay, and I'm going to draw that box, and I'm going to make sure that that box, I'm going to try to anyway, and make sure that that box does not come out more than 11.5 inches wide. Okay, so I'm at 11.446, which should be okay for Cricut. Okay, so I'm going to just make sure that I have enough space on the sides, and I want to make sure that I have at least enough space on the sides. Okay. Now, in order to create the registration, I'm going to make this box a little bit taller. Okay, because I want to be able to put that registration mark up here in the corner of the design. Okay, but out of the way of the design, so that when I'm brushing in the stones, that little registration mark doesn't kind of get in the way. Okay, so I've got everything, I think, of the way I want it. Okay, I'm going to just give this box a color. Okay, so I'm open up the paint palette, and I'm just going to give it a color. Doesn't matter what color you give it. Okay, and I know I have 4 layers, right? So I need to create this box 4 times. So I'm going to right click with my mouse and I'm going to duplicate this box and I'm just going to turn it into a different color. Doesn't matter what color you turn it. Okay. I'm going to make another one. So I'm going to right click, duplicate again, turn that one into a color. And one more time, duplicate and turn that one into a color. Okay. So now that I have all 4 of my boxes, okay, I'm going to click on each of them, right? And I'm going to hold my shift key. So I have all 4 of the boxes selected. I'm going to come over here to my transform panel. Okay. Remember, that's our alignment panel. And I'm going to align all of those boxes to the center. Okay. Because I want them to be exactly on top of one another. Okay. And while they're still selected, I'm going to right click and I'm going to send them to the back, right? So I can see the design on top. And then I'm going to just move them where I want them to go. Okay, everybody got that? All right. So now that I have those, I got all 4 of my boxes, right? Because the registration, the key to this is making sure that your flock or whatever you're using to cut, that they're the same exact size, right? Or at least so that your registration mark lines up. Okay, they don't necessarily have to be. You don't have to waste all of this flock, but you do have to make sure that the box, that the mark lines up with the ones with the other ones. So now I'm going to create the registration. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to the Flexi tools, right? Or you could just create a box. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want it to be. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the rectangle. Or I'm just going to, matter of fact, I'll go to the Flexi tool. Okay, I'll open up the Flexi tool and we'll click a star. Okay, and we'll just drag out a star. Okay, and you don't want it to be, it doesn't have to be very big. Let's see. And okay, so I just made this little star like this. Okay, and I'm going to give it a color just so I can see it. We can make it black, doesn't matter. Okay, and I'm going to drag it and I'm going to just put it somewhere over here on the left corner of the this simulated piece of flock. Okay, so I'm just going to put that right there. So now that I have my registration mark and I have my boxes all lined up, okay, now we can create those layers, okay, that we're going to cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm making sure that everything is, let me just make sure that everything is a compound path because we did release some things earlier. So this first layer, I'm going to right click and I'm going to make it a compound path. Okay. Uh-oh. Something is grouped together. Let's see. Oh, it's all grouped together. Let me ungroup it for a minute. Okay. Because you want to make sure that everything is ungrouped and in its own individual layer. Okay. So we've had our brown and I'm going to just double check and make sure that it is a compound path, and it is, because if it wasn't, it would say make compound path. Okay. So this one is good. This one is still good. Our pink layer is still good, and our white layer is good. So everything is a compound path. And if it wasn't a compound path, what will happen is when we go to, when I show you what happens next, you would get an error message, because in Silhouette, you cannot divide more than 16 shapes at a time. Okay, it'll give you an error message. And because we know that we have over 200 and some odd circles in each of our layers or more, that function would not work. So that's why we want to make sure that everything is a compound path, because it tells the software that this is just one thing. So now that we have this, we're going to go, I'm going to click on my registration mark, right? I'm going to hold my shift key Okay, I'm going to click my purple layer. Okay, and you know that the purple layer is selected because if you go over here on the left, underneath the home icon, underneath the file, you can see that the purple is selected. Okay, I want to click any layer. It doesn't matter, but you just want to kind of remember which layer you did. So I'm just going to start with the first one. So I'm going to click that first brown layer. Okay, so now that one is selected. So I have the registration mark selected. I have the purple layer selected, and I have my first layer of my template. I'm going to go to the transform panel. Okay, open up the, I'm sorry, not the transform panel. I'm going to open up the modify panel. Okay, and the modify panel is the one over here on the right that has a rectangle and a circle. So I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to click divide. Okay. When it's finished, it has taken that layer that we have created. You can click and drag. Let me make sure. Let me deselect. Let me go back. Let me undo for a minute. You want to deselect. Okay. And you should now be able to drag the purple layer off. You see, we dragged it off, and you see how it has divided those holes from our simulated piece of flock, right? So this is our layer. Okay. So now we want to do this. Now we want to do the next one. Okay. So I'm going to, again, do the same thing. Now, this layer is going to be a little bit shorter in height than the other, but not by much. So I'm probably not going to do it for this particular one. I probably would just go ahead and cut that piece of flock. So I'm going to just do the steps again. I'm going to click my star. I'm going to click my red layer. You see it turn red. Okay. I'm going to click that next layer underneath the brown. The modify panel is already open, and I'm going to go ahead and click divide. Okay. I'm going to click anywhere on the screen to deselect and move that red layer out of the way. Okay. And we're going to repeat that for the last two remaining layers. So we're going to click the star, our yellow, our pink layer, and divide. Okay. Deselect, move that one out of the way. And the last one we have is the white. So we click the star, our blue, our white, and divide. But what I wanted to show you how you can save some flock, okay, in the shorter layer. So let me go back for a minute, okay, because it can't do it now. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to show you with the yellow layer. Okay, so you see how we have the yellow layer? We have this excess flock here at the bottom, right? So there's really no need for us to waste this much flock just to create this layer, because the important part is the registration mark up here at the top. Okay, so what I can do is I'm making sure that I'm only clicked on the yellow layer, right? I can click on it, and I can just drag from the bottom. Oh, wait a minute. I hadn't gone back far enough. Okay. Now we have it. So let me just deselect. So we know that we're doing the, let's see, we did the brown, we did this one, we're doing this pink layer, right? So I have, we can click on the yellow, right? Because we know that's the layer that we're currently on. And I'm just going to drag it up to just below where that next layer ends, right? So I'm going to save that much flock, and then we're going to repeat those steps. Okay, so I'm going to click the star. I'm going to click the yellow layer. I'm going to click that pink layer, and I'm going to click divide. Okay, so I'm going to deselect so that I can move that layer. You see, so now We have that. And then the last one again is the white. Now and we can do the same thing, right? We know we don't need these bottom part down here, so we can kind of drag that up a little bit, save a little flock. Just be careful to where you drag it to. Want to make sure that you don't bring it too close. And just repeat those steps. Star, blue, white, divide. Okay, I'm going to deselect and move that out of the way. Okay, so now we have our 4 layers. Now, when we do this, I will tell you that it releases the compound path, right? It releases the compound path in the design. So you have to go back. If you don't want to, if you want everything to stay together, you just have to go back and you have to repeat the steps where you go into the panel, select by color. But you don't necessarily have to make it a compound path again, because these layers that we just created over here, these are the things that you're actually going to import into Cricut Design Space. Okay. So I'm going to show you how you do that. Let's just do this. We're going to take all of those. I'm just going to drag a box around everything, right? And let's just go ahead and open up a separate mat. So I'm going to drag a box. I'm going to copy because I don't want to mess up anything. So I'll have a backup. I'll open a new mat and paste all of my layers here. Okay. So from here, I'm going to ungroup. Excuse me, I'm just going to deselect and ungroup and deselect. Okay, so now we have our 4. We have our 4 layers. Now with Cricut, for those of you who have Cricut know that, Cricut can be cumbersome sometimes. And what I have learned is that if you bring in each of the things individually, it typically will tend to keep the size. Because if we did this, right, if we just took all of this and we didn't know what the size of the layers was, right? Let me show you. Like if I do this and I have all of this and I say, okay, I'm done with my design. I'm ready to bring it into Cricut Design Space. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save it. I'm going to go file. I'm going to do save as. I'm going to save everything to my hard drive. I'm just going to put this on my desktop right quick, and I'm going to call it That Girl, right? And I'm going to save as an SVG. Now remember, you have to have the business edition of Silhouette Studio in order to save this as a SVG, a PNG or JPEG or PDF or any one of those file formats. So I'm going to save it as an SVG and I'm going to hit OK. Okay. So now I'm going to, let's see if I can do this. Because I got to show a different window. Let's see if I'm going to open up Cricut right the minute. Let me see. Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to minimize this for a minute. And open up. And I'm going to stop sharing for a second so that you can see my Cricut window. Hold on a minute. Okay, so everybody see how I now have Cricut open? Okay, so I have Cricut open, and I'm going to, oh Lord, Cricut keeps changing the freaking interface. Start designing. Okay, so I've opened up my Cricut, and what I want to do is I want to go to upload. Okay, and I'm going to go to upload an image. I'm going to upload image, and I'm going to go browse my desktop and find that file that we just created, and it was called That Girl. So here it is. Okay, That Girl, and do open. Okay, and here are all of this is interesting. Okay, let's see what happens. Cricut, open and upload. Now, Cricut has been changing some things. So let's see. Right now, all of the design is grouped together. All right, so I'm going to right click and I'm going to ungroup. Okay, and you can't see it, but all of those layers are now in my layers panel here in my design space. But I think, let me see, let me minimize window so I can see what you guys see. Okay, there it is. Oh, you can see it in the Cricut window. Okay, so all of those layers ungrouped, right? So that you can see them all in the layers up over here. But when I click on, let's see if I click on, wait a minute, where is it? When I click on the, let's see, why did that, there it is. Okay, so when I click on the blue layer, right? And we should have probably did this before we went into Cricut. We should have made note of the measurements, right? Because now I don't remember, but I can probably tell you for certain that this did not come into Cricut at the dimensions that we needed it. And why can we tell that? Because if I'm clicked on this blue layer, it's telling me that the blue layer's width is 10.456 by 8.527. Well, we already know that when we created our square in Silhouette, that square that we created was 11.4 something, right? Remember? So we already know that this design did not come into Cricut at the right dimensions. So that's one of the reasons why it's very important to write things down in Cricut. Write things down before you import them into Cricut so that you can ensure when you go to resize them that they resize properly. Another way that you can tell that this design is not sized properly is I'm going to hide these back layers. Okay, I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to hide these real quick so that I only have the one. And in Cricut, if you want to know what the hole size is for something, if you've brought in a template and you're not certain whether or not it's the right hole size, now this could take a minute, but what you do is you can click on your contour feature. Okay, so I'm going to click on contour and let's see how long this takes. Maybe it won't take very long at all. Okay, and the thing, you want to hide all but one hole. Okay, so I'm going to hide all contours. Okay, but I'm going to leave one hole. Okay, so you see I clicked on the one hole and it left. It's doing a bunch of stuff because it's trying to, we got a lot of stuff going on here. But I left just one hole open. So I'm going to see what it's spinning right at the moment because it's working its magic. So it left the one circle. Oh, still spinning. Okay. When it's finished, if you click apply, okay. So everybody see I got just that one hole on my screen. Now, that's not, it should not have done that. Oh, I know why. I'm sorry. It's because I have this in the let me see. It's because I did it I did it backwards. I should have just brought in the circles by themselves and then did the contour feature so that you had the hole, but because I sliced my holes out of the design, it's part of the background, so that's not going to work. But You can do it that way, right? If you had just the circles and you hide all but one, when you click on that one circle, okay, when you go into your height and width, if you're using SS10, that whole size should measure at least 0.130. Depending on who designed the template, it could be a range. It could be anywhere from 0.130 to 0.135. But if the hole does not fall within that range, if it's lower, if it's 0.103, that is the whole size for an SS6. It is not the whole size for SS10. So if you cut that template thinking that you have SS10 holes, you'll be sorely mistaken and angry when you realize that you have wasted a whole piece of flock. Okay. So it's always a good idea to check your hole sizes, especially when you're working with someone else's templates, to make sure that the hole size is what you want it to be or you need it to be. Okay. But this was to show you that, again, that is important to take down the dimensions when you're working in design space. So I'm gonna come out. Let me, oops, cancel. I'm gonna minimize this for a minute. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I'm gonna go back to Silhouette Studio, and I'm going to make note. Oh, wait a minute. Let me share so you can see what I'm doing. Window, window, window. Okay, so I'm back in Silhouette. Share. Okay, so I'm gonna see, do I have a pen right quick? Can somebody do me a favor? Can somebody write in the chat blue layer, or just put blue, and can they type 11.446 by 9.331? Okay, can somebody do that for me? 11.446 by 9.331. Thank you, Mindy. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to Cricut. Stop sharing my screen. Go back to Cricut. Go back to our blue layer. Oh, that's not Cricut. Oh. Now why can't I bring my Cricut back up? Oh, there it is. Okay. I think there's a lag. There's a lag. Okay. So now that we're back in Cricut, we have our blue layer. So we want to make sure that we size it to those dimensions. Let's see, 11.446. It would help if I was 11 point. And in Cricut, it doesn't matter. You don't need the third digit on the end, as long as you make it 11.44 or even 45 would probably work. Okay. And when you size the width, it should automatically bring in your height, right? It said that when I did just the 11.44, it automatically brought the height in as 9.326. And Silhouette said that the design was actually 9.331. And so that's close, but I'm just going to go ahead and make it 9.33. I'm going to unlock the dimensions. Actually, it doesn't matter. 11.455 and 0.933. That would be sufficient. That would be sufficient. And now that we've resized that layer, we can now Now we can now cut it. We can now cut this. So I could come back and let me go back to the contour and unhide everything. Oh, wait a minute. It should see where it says unhide, but it's not. Still just showing me the one hole. I want to see everything. So let's see. Did that do it? No. There are a lot of holes in this design. And it's taking Cricut just a minute. But technically, okay, so I believe it didn't put all my circles back. Trying to get it to put all the circles back. Oh, there it is. There it is. I wanted to show all contours. Okay, let's give it a minute. So click on show all contours and click apply. And now all of our circles are back and they even look better. I don't know if you guys can even tell it. Yeah, I know, Mindy, but I've got a bunch of things going on. I've got this live going, I've got Silhouette going, I've got Cricut going. So my computer is not very happy right now, using up way too many resources. But anyway, you can see all of the circles came back and they even look better than they did before. And this will probably, like I said, we've got it sized to the right dimensions. So when we send this to a cutting machine, which I don't have mine turned on, but let me... I had to turn my Cricut on for you guys for a minute. Let's see, so that you can see. I don't need to change that anywhere. Just save it there. When I go, it's trying to find my Cricut. There we go. You see? Okay, I didn't get that issue where all of the circles then showed up on the screen all lined up, because remember we made all of this into a compound path. So Design Space saw this all as one object so that when it brought it to the mat, it came in the way that it was supposed to. Okay. So that is how you can import your designs out of Silhouette Studio and into Cricut Design Space. You would do this and you would cut each of those, okay? And when you're ready to put your template together, you would use the little registration mark, right? You would, and that's in another, that's another tutorial, or it's in a video currently out on my YouTube channel. I have a video out there that says how do you use registration mark, or how to use the hinge method, or one of those titles. But anyway, there is a video out there where I show you how I've used a template with registration marks in order to line up my stones so that I can put everything onto one piece of transfer tape and make that that transfer. So we've been on for almost 2 hours. So I thank you for sticking it out with me. It did not go as smoothly as I would have liked, but again, this is my very first one, and so I know that I will get better. I appreciate you all hanging out with me tonight. Is anybody have any questions? And like I said, I am happy. Those of you who know me know that I will talk till the cows come home, and I will stay on and I will answer any question that you may have. So I don't have to go if you don't have to go. But if you have to go, I understand. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Again, I hope if this tutorial was useful for you tonight, that you would at least give my video or my replay or what have you a thumbs up, and be sure to again, put your comments out there. I do go back out and I look at every single one and I try to answer every question that I can. If you have any suggestions about what I could do better, I would appreciate that. I love constructive criticism, because I want to be a useful resource for you guys. So I do better when you guys tell me what you need. But again, if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'm happy to go over anything, even if it's not quite related to this. Those that happen to, this is a live, so you guys will stay live. The people who get to watch it in the replay, they just get bonus material, right? So thank you. Thank you, Lola. I appreciate that, honey. Thank you, CJ Davis. Who is that? CJ Davis 72. I know that that handle. Who else is there? Let's see. Anybody else? Anybody else? Let me just scroll up. I'm just going to scroll back through the comments and just make sure I didn't miss anything. Got that question. Okay. I think I got everything. Don't think I missed anything. Hey, Mary. Oh, you're welcome. You're so welcome. I enjoy doing this. Like I said, I enjoy teaching you guys what I know. I may not do it the same way everybody else does it. We all learn differently. But it's good to sometimes know that there are different ways to do things, right? And so I learn something new pretty much every time I go into silhouette. I play around. I try to pick on a different tool and figure out what it does, and see whether or not that's something that's going to help me with my rhinestone creation. I will say that, 9 times out of 10, you use the same tools over and over and over again. You just repeat the process for each of the designs, and you tweak things as you go. So if you're working in the software, just keep practicing. I promise you that it gets easier. Start out with something small, and keep working those steps into something that's a little bit more complex. And I guarantee you, when you start when you start using the software and applying those tools, you're going to be able to create templates just as well as anybody else. I'm not saying you're going to create them like I do, but you're going to create them the way that you do. You're going to figure out what things that you like, what you don't like, what you want to tweak, and you will make it perfect just for you. So hopefully, again, you will continue to keep practicing. I hope you will continue to come back and watch tutorials on my channel. I hope you'll come back and you'll participate. I plan to do more lives. I promise you I will get better. So just stick with me, and I will hopefully, like I said, teach you some things that you may not have known. And if you did know them, or a better way to do it, let me know. Because like I said, I love to learn and I love to apply what I learn so that I can make things easier for myself and hopefully make things easier for everybody else. So with that, thank you so much for sticking it out with me tonight. I guess I'll see you on the next one. Everybody have a great night. Oh, let me stop sharing screen for a minute. And that way you can see me and I can wave to all of you and say good night. It was great. And catch you on the next one. All right. End stream. Let's see. End stream. Okay. End.